I'd like to introduce a tool that you can use with other people to demonstrate respect in a deep way, to live up to the pluralistic disposition to difference. And that is the tool of deep listening. Deep listening is about creating an environment where you could sit with someone and spend a few minutes to really try to understand what is in their mind, what is in their heart, and give them the space to deepen their own story, their own perspective in a situation. Deep listening is a valuable tool simply to show your love for somebody in everyday life. It's a very helpful tool for supporting someone as they're experiencing moral distress in their life, whatever the context. Deep listening is also a really important step in the journey of moral reasoning and decision making. It's a way of creating space for people to think about what should matter, what the facts are, so that they can come to a collaborative, inclusive experience and share their thoughts. And in fact, deep listening is actually an interview technique that we use as part of our clinical ethics consultation service and our system level ethics consultation service. So let me explain a little bit about some of the keys to deep listening. First of all, it's important to recognize what the purpose of deep listening is and what we're not doing in deep listening. Deep listening is about trying to understand. It's about trying to sit with someone to really get a sense of what their experience is. It's an opportunity for them to tell their story and for us to make sense of that story. It's an invitation to be vulnerable. In order for people to feel comfortable being vulnerable, deep listening requires that we create trust. We create trusting environments where people feel it is safe to express out loud, to think out loud about perspectives that they're still trying to work out. Deep listening is also a way for people to deepen their own stories. It's an opportunity for them to share their thinking, to hear a kind reflection of their thoughts, and then to really reflect on their own stories and check out and deepen their understanding of, again, what should matter and what the facts in a story actually are. If that's what deep listening is about, then we have to name that it's not about a bunch of other things that we do in regular conversation all of the time. For example, deep listening is not about judgment. Chat with a friend and I say, I'm trying to figure out how should I deal with my transportation needs. Should I think about, the environment, or should I buy? And all of a sudden my friend is saying, what are you talking about? That's stupid. Obviously you should. Notice what's going on is that my perspective is being judged by my friend in that story. And all of a sudden, I realize that they're not concerned about my perspective. They really want to know about their perspective. This is not a safe space for me to work things out. So judgment is something that we need to suspend initially in the deep listening process. Deep listening is also not about telling our stories. Yeah, I'm thinking about what kind of car. Oh yeah, I had the same problem. This is what I worked out. And all of a sudden I've made this story about me. That's not what deep listening is. It's about decentering ourselves. It's not about us. It's about sitting in the mind and the heart of other people. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what kind of car I should get. Well, you know what you should do? You should just go and get this kind of car because that's the best car. I know that's the best car. I've seen all the studies and it's an X. All of a sudden, I'm getting problem solving and advice. The person listening to me is telling me what the best answer is. But I'm not looking for advice in a deep listening conversation. I'm really trying to understand my own story. So when we're listening to other people deeply, that's not a place for us to be telling them what to do, no matter how wise and smart we are. And of course, we often feel like we have a good sense of what the right answer to these things is. So deep listening is about putting ourselves aside and really being open to the perspectives of others. Deep listening requires a very rigorous way of listening. And you will see in the slide here that there's a certain series of steps that we want to take when we're listening well. Deep listening starts with an invitation. It's about an explicit statement of intention up front. I would really like to create the space for you to share your thinking about how you're going to do. I know you're dealing with what kind of car to buy or how to deal with your transportation issues, and I'd love to create the space for you to just think that through. And my intention is not to judge. My intention is not to give you a solution to your problem. I'd love to create a space, if you would like, just to tell your story. It's the invitation for someone to come in up front, and they know with that invitation what to expect in the conversation. So you're setting them up to successfully be vulnerable. Then deep listening goes into this cycle of 3 steps. The first step after the invitation is simply listening. This is where we are quiet, we're not talking, but our ears are open, we're making eye contact with our body language, we're showing that we care, we're interested, we're focused, and we're kind, we're loving in all of this, right? There may be some sounds, really, there is, we're verbalizing, but they're all, the verbal offerings we give are ways of showing the person we're deeply listening to that we're attuned to them, that we're interested. Now, when we listen to someone, it's actually really hard work because they're going to be saying stuff that might be pushing our buttons. They might be saying, oh, they're really, upset about the way that the CEO of this company is working, or they really don't like the gas, companies and the reliance on fossil fuels in certain markets and certain, political areas. And these comments may be pushing our buttons, and we may have all kinds of, and we have to recognize all of that stuff and put all that aside. So we've got this very equanimous face that we're showing, but inside we're doing all of this self-management, we're calming ourselves down, we're recognizing our own talk, we're, really just creating the space for them to be. So it's the first cyclical step is listening. The next part in that cycle of deep listening is what we call looping. It's rephrasing back to the person in our language what we heard them say. Okay, so what I hear you say is, and then fill in the blank. You're worried that electric car is really expensive right now, or you're worried that you're not going to be able to find charging stations conveniently enough. And so convenience is really important to you. That's what I'm hearing you say. So what we're doing is we're reframing what the person who's telling us their story, the sense we're making of their story. And that looping is really important because it first of all lets the person who's talking to us know that we're paying attention, that we're focused on them. It helps them to understand the way we're making sense of things. And it also helps them to understand the impact that their words are having on us. Because it's saying they're telling their story this way, and this is how it's being heard. So it gives them an opportunity to then reframe as needed. The third part of the cyclical process is what we call probing. It's an opportunity to ask the person that's telling the story to go deeper. Okay, so you're really worried about convenience and having access to a charging station soon enough if you get an electric vehicle. Is that the only thing you're worried about? Are you worried about cost? Are you worried? So by asking questions, you're giving them an opportunity to think about other parts of the story that they may not have told. So you're probing them, giving them invitations to go deeper. And you ask that question, and then again you shift to listening mode, where again they're sharing and you are just deeply listening. So in this way, deep listening is a cycle that allows the person that you're talking to go deep. So that's all I want to share about the deep listening exercise at this point. I want to again reiterate that one way of demonstrating respect, one way of living into a pluralistic disposition to difference is by creating spaces where you can genuinely spend time in the mind and heart of another person.